All right, good evening. How's it going? I'm Steve from Steve's True History and Knowledge channel with a new video that I'm gonna be giving today on the analysis of protocol number 2. I'm gonna do a little bit different today by not doing a PowerPoint. Just go ahead and just read my information to you. So let's get started. Shouldn't be too long, but this is on an analysis of protocol number 2 from the minutes of the meetings of the Zionist men of wisdom from the book of Serge Nihilus called The Protocols and World Revolution. He dedicated this book to those that believe in Christ. Now, to do a full, complete analysis would be to compare these details to events in history and see if we can verify them. However, I'm not going to do that here. Instead, I'm going to do a brief analysis and try to break down each part into a more concise understanding. I will leave a more detailed analysis for the future, as it's necessary to first understand what the protocol is trying to say. We will look at the protocols as being revealed by a leader to an assembly of individuals who all believe in the same system, which is what they call it. Now, I don't want to stray too far from the reality of the information that is given, because I have not done enough thorough research myself, and as stated above, to be able to provide proof of what this man is saying. Therefore, I will not interpret it in any other way than what my current knowledge can afford to the listener. The leader starts off protocol number 2 by saying that it's beneficial for them, meaning him and the assembly, that no wars result in any territorial gain. We can think of current wars here, such as the Ukraine and Russian war, and the Iran and U.S.-Israel war, the Afghanistan war, or the Iraq-U.S. war. When we look at these wars, we can see that all but one, the Ukraine-Russian war, resulted in any territorial gain, and in fact the Russian-Ukraine war resulted in very little territorial exchange in favor of Russia. Therefore, could we say this statement is true? How about if you knew that this was written right around the beginning of the 20th century, meaning around the year 1900, and therefore we would need to consider all wars since then, right? If so, could we still say that this statement is true? Did World War I, World War II, or the Korean or Vietnam Wars result in territorial gain in the end for any specific country after everything was said and done and the wars ended? Then they go on to say that this is necessary for them because they want this so that the wars are based on economics. And this must be because they control economics, and hence it allows them to control the outcome of the wars. Is this statement true? Do they control the economics of the world? If so, who controls the economics of the world from what we can see? And why would they want to control the outcomes of the wars? I think they provide the answer to this themselves at the end of this protocol. They want to control these wars so that the nations of the world realize the strength of their authority, and so that both sides of the war will be at the mercy of their then, at this time of the writing of this book, their million-person international agency. And that this agency, according to them, will reach everywhere on earth and no one can stop it. Meaning everyone in every country is within their reach. Now, one could argue that it sounds like that they are talking about the United States of America here, because who else controls the economics of the world, and who is involved in most wars? The US, right? However, they want this because they want their international rights to replace national rights. These rights will rule the people by civil power the same way that they did under the national rights. Now, after saying this, it would be hard to say that it's the United States, at least under President Trump, because Trump has made several comments over his tenure that are against international rights or international institutions such as the United Nations. And instead, Trump is very national oriented. Now let's critically think here for a second and remember that there is always two sides. And of course, we would have to take a lot more information into consideration to say this or to come to this conclusion. Now, these civil rights, let's just reiterate that term there. These civil rights, they say, will be used the same way as in each state regulates its relationship with its subjects. Now, emphasis here on state regulating its subjects. Therefore, what they are saying here is we will rule, but we will rule over the states who rule over the people, and therefore they will not rule over the people directly except through their laws, these international laws that they want to replace the national rights. An example of this is the federal government of the US that has power over the individual states. This means that when this happens, or if it has already happened, things will still seem the same as before, but then instead they are in power and we do not or will not know it. They will choose the people to run the state by picking them from the population based on their ability to submit and obey to the commands of the hierarchy. Basically, those who will be slaves to them. And this chosen people will not be experienced in government. Okay, so this makes me think of several examples that occurred prior to this. And what they're doing is they're just continuing the system that they have put in place. And this system goes back, as we have talked about many times before, to Egypt, the state of Egypt, at the latest. These people, the government employees, will be used as pawns for their game, who will be controlled from under their scientists, wise counselors, and specialists who have been trained since early childhood to govern the world. Now, to give a little bit of kind of context here of who these people are. So when I just say they, we're talking about, according to nihilists, we're talking about those who people who consider themselves Zionists. Zionist is not, you would, most people would try to say Zionists are Jews only, but it's not Jews. It's Jews and Christians together. And it's not only Jews and Christians together, but it's the culture of Jews and Christians together and the system that they built, which is seen throughout Western civilization. So this system has been used throughout the development of Western civilization, and that's why most scholars or academia or mostly scholars or academia, anybody who might have to, who might be in, could potentially be in livelihood, could potentially be in jeopardy from saying or revealing any kind of unwanted information to the public. They call it, when they refer to this, they don't call it Zionist or men of wisdom, they, or Jews, or they don't single out Jews. They will just say Western civilization or the West or the Christian Judea culture. Okay, so these specialists that they train have the knowledge, and they were given the knowledge by them based on their political plans and what they have learned from the studying of history. And through their observation of the planned events that have occurred by their own, that they have witnessed with their own eyes or by other means, which shows the specialist that their plan is working, thus giving the specialist confirmation to continue the work. They say that the Goy do not look at both sides of history and use it to make decisions. Instead, they only concentrate on one side and use theories without critically thinking about the results. Okay, that's an important statement there. But Goy, if you don't know what Goy is, the best explanation that you can get is from my definition of Goy, Goyim, and Gentiles that's on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, and you can read through that or watch the video and you get a good definition. Because if you say Goy or everybody who's not Jew, you would be incorrect. Okay? Because at periods of time in history, Goys did not mean Christians. And Goys did not mean other people, certain other people as well. And Goy did at times mean people from Israel, and specifically Abraham and people of those time periods. So, which just makes me think of something. If Abraham, okay, I won't go into that, but so be careful in the way that you use and interpret the word Goy. But more importantly here, they're saying that we don't look at both sides of the history. We concentrate on one side of the history, and then we focus on theories without critically thinking about the results that actually occurred. So I think what they're saying here is they're playing both sides, and the historians tend to focus on one side only and can't really see what's going on. and therefore haven't been able to reveal the system. Because of this, these men do not pay attention to the Goy's theories or their results, because they have influenced the Goys to think this way. And they laugh at it. And they allow the Goys to continue to think this way for now, until they change this mode of thinking to the way that they want it to be. They say the Goys take this theoretical thinking too seriously. They call believing in these theories blind faith, and they push these beliefs through to the people using their own press and the news. Their scientists are the ones who created these theories and who trained the Goys in them. Then the Goys who have mastered it believe that they are intelligent and can verify these theories using logic, when in fact they were the ones who created Darwinism, Marxism, and Nietzscheism, which are all doctrines that demoralize the minds of the Goys, and that they see that, and they can see that these doctrines have worked on the people. So that's a big thing that they're saying here, and I know that it's true. And when we all think about it, we can see that it's true, especially now, right now, since the last 5-6 years, since the beginning of COVID, maybe even a few years prior to that, we can see the demoralization of our country, especially on the Democratic side, where they work and where this demoralization occurs. It's not going to occur on the Republican side, because the Republican side is the side of the King in Christ. And the King in Christ is supposed to come and stop this demoralization, which now, with this term of Trump, he is supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be reversing that demoralization, helping to return to more moral truth and justice, helping our country to return to more moral, truthful, and justice society under Christ the King. This shows us that they work for deceit and to deceive all those who are not like them. So Goys are really everyone who is not with them, on their side, and who believe the same thing. We know that deceit was one of the first acts of evil in the Bible, when the snake in the trees said that you surely will not die if you eat the fruit. The serpent was not lying that they would not die right then and there at that time. But she knew that in the realm of eternity, which is in the realm of Ra and Christ, that they would no longer exist after they died in real life. I'm not going to go into that. You have to watch my previous videos on the tree and the serpent. They say that this assembly and system must keep abreast of modernization and the changes that take place of each new generation, so that these changes are incorporated into the way that they guide the government officials that they have put into place, so that no mistakes are made. They have learned that they have to adapt this system to account for the response that they get from the people that they come in contact with. My question is, who are these people that they come talking about, that they come in contact with? I want to know that question. I want to answer to that question. And that the success of this system cannot happen without using what happened in the past as a guide for the future. They have learned that the greatest force to control the minds of the people in modern societies is the press or news, and that today it would be social media. The role of this media is to show the demands, register the complaints from the people, and to express the foment and dissatisfaction. Now, what do they mean here? Because I'm not quite sure. Are they saying the demands of the people, or are they saying their demands? It's not quite clear. Do they mean they give their demands through the media? Then the people see these demands, then complain about it through complain back about it through the media themselves, and express their foment and dissatisfaction of these demands, which makes sense. If we go to war, the war is not here on the homeland. So the only way that we know about these wars is we learn about it through the news or through the media. And so then we complain. Once we've learned about it, we complain about it. And we show our dissatisfaction about these wars. But it doesn't seem to make any difference. It still continues because they already are going to do it anyways regardless, because they themselves say that they hold the power and that we do not. Because if we held the power and we disagree, and the majority of the people disagreed with these wars, then by complaining and showing our foment and dissatisfaction, then the wars would stop or not happen. But they don't. Okay, so that means that we either have no power and it doesn't matter what we say, or not enough people are complaining about it to stop it. So it means kind of like we're agreeing to it. Okay. But then I would say, what are we getting out of it? But, and with that can be a long argument of what we're getting out of it. We holding the power of the world. Our country, our people are in the top 1% of the world. So you can look at it that way. Do you want to be on the top? If you don't want to be on the top, then they can move that power to somewhere else and then make another country on top, and we won't be on the top anymore. Is that what we want? And instead of taking the wars to somebody else, they're going to bring the wars to us if we decide that we no longer want them to be in power anymore. Okay, so according to them, the press created free speech, or babbling as they call it, and that the government wasn't able to profit from the press, and therefore they took control over it themselves, knowing its value. The control of the press has allowed them to gain influence while staying behind the curtain. And last but not least, and going back to the beginning of the protocol, they attribute their collection of gold to the control over the press. that they took it through the wars of death and grief of families of who have died in these wars. They have looted the countries involved in these wars for their own benefit. Now, how does this make you feel? This gives us something to think about and a stepping stone for continued research. Now so this protocol number 2 reveals a lot to us. Actually, it reveals a tremendous amount to us. I think it lets us know, as Americans in the United States, that this power that wrote these protocols is here in the United States, or is using the United States. But if they're using the United States, then it's like they say, they put in place their people into the government, so they're able to use the United States for their system. And their system was to build up this military complex to go around and strong arm all the other weaker countries and loot their countries for the gold and other loot that they can take. And that this has been going on since the times of ancient Egypt and continue on to until today. And then once we realize and know this, and there's no long and once we stop not believing in it for sure and brushing it off, or just saying, oh, this is not conspiracy theory, or once we stop brushing it off and say, okay, this is really it, and this is what it is, and this is how it's been, and it's nothing new, but this is really what it is and how it is. And then what do we do? Knowing that if we just only do the same thing that every other country has done in the past, then we are just going to get the same result. And then, is that the result that we will be happy with? And is that what we really want? And it's not an easy answer or easy analysis to conduct, right? It's like really so nobody, that's why they say nobody understands it, because they have thousands of years of documented experience that they've continued in a successful and subsequent manner to be able to go back and fall back on everything that occurred before, in order to not make the same mistakes moving forward. So are they talking about us there as it's our responsibility, or are they talking about them? We don't really know, right? We got to refer back to Protocol 1, which I don't have memorized, and get some more insight, or we have to continue on to the next protocols and get more insight. But after Protocol 2, this is the questions that we have after Protocol 2. So thank you for listening. I'm Stephen Webb from San Diego, California. Take care and and have a nice evening.